The first thing that hits you when you're trapped underwater in your own backyard, sealed inside a creaky, mustard-yellow submersible called the Lucky Krill, is the silence. Not a calm, zen-like hush, but a deafening void that screams, "You, Ethan Carter, are in deep, deep trouble, probably your fault, but mostly because of Linda Hawthorne." Then comes the smell, a pungent mix of stale energy drinks, my own rising panic, and a faint whiff of what the Coastal Research Lab I bought this thing from called Cranky Krill VY Bess. I got it cheap because of that. Now, as murky water presses against the scratched-up acrylic dome, my tools drifting past like shipwrecked relics in my flooded garage, I'm thinking no discount was worth this. My heart's pounding so hard it could outdrum a jackhammer. "All right, Ethan," I mutter, my voice echoing in the cramped cockpit. "Don't lose it. You're in a submersible in your drowned garage. This is fine. Totally, epically, disastrously fine. Who am I kidding? This is Linda's magnum opus, her grand checkmate in our ongoing suburban war. It all started with a simple dream. I wanted a backyard in quiet Burlington, Vermont, that didn't look like a post-apocalyptic gravel pit. A little stream, some pebbles, maybe a couple of fish. My own slice of paradise. Instead, I got a showdown with a woman who could nitpick the air we breathe. I'm not a flashy guy. Ethan Carter, 40, I sell payroll software thrilling, right? My real love is projects, the kind that leave you sweaty, covered in dirt, and grinning like you just built a pyramid. My latest obsession, the one currently turning my property into a swamp, began as a humble goldfish pond. But you know how it goes. One minute you're sketching a cute water feature. The next, you're designing a multi-tiered, solar-powered waterfall with a filtration bog and a reservoir big enough to float a kayak. It wasn't just a pond, Anna Marie, it was a VY shown. I called it my aquatic sanctuary, mostly to rile up Linda, who I swear could sense when I was about to fire up a drill past 7 p.m. Then there's Linda Hawthorne, the neighborhood's self-appointed guardian of perfection. Every cul-de-sac has one, but ours came armed with a tablet, a permanent scowl, and a memorized copy of the Homeowners Association rulebook she probably wrote in a fit of bureaucratic ecstasy. To her, I was the chaos agent, the guy threatening Burlington's pristine uniformity with my reckless projects. Our first real clash was over a delivery of smooth lake stones I was unloading. Linda materialized like she'd teleported, her sun hat tilted like a general's cap, her gardening gloves suspiciously spotless. "Ethan," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, "are those stones compliant with the community's aesthetic standards?" Chapter 5, Section D, Clause 2. I blinked. "They're rocks, Linda. From a lake. Pretty sure they're grandfathered in by geology." She tapped her stylus on her tablet, each click tightening my jaw. "That's not what the guidelines say. And is that PVC piping? I hope you have permits for non-standard irrigation modifications." That was Linda. She didn't see a guy sprucing up his yard. She saw a rebel, a menace to the HOA's beige utopia. It wasn't just the pond. There was the infamous flamingo fiasco of 23, when my tasteful pink lawn flamingos imported from a quirky shop in Maine were deemed VY sually disruptive and psychologically jarring. Then the mailbox saga, where my sage green paint job was apparently one shade off the approved forest hue. Don't even ask about the squirrel feeder debacle. Attracting invasive rodents was the official charge. Each time, I tried to be polite, reasonable Ethan, while Linda came at me like a lawyer cross-examining a guilty defendant. For the aquatic sanctuary, I knew I needed help. My enthusiasm didn't quite cover digging out tons of dirt with a shovel, so I hired Jake and Tim, two burly contractors with a knack for laughing off Linda's antics. Jake, wiping sweat as he eyed my chalked-out plans, chuckled. "So, your HOA cool with this, Ethan? Looks like you're building a dolphin sanctuary." I grinned. "Linda's on a need-to-know basis, Jake, and she doesn't need to know how epic this is going to be." Linda's patrols ramped up with every scoop of Tim's backhoe. She'd linger by her fence with a laser measurer, a level, and once, I swear, a drone. I pictured her at night, hunched over a laptop, crafting a presentation titled Ethan Carter, Enemy of Property Values. The spillway valve was the linchpin. I'd walk Jake and Tim threw it like it was nuclear launch protocol. "This red lever," I said, pointing to the heavy-duty valve tied to the overflow pipe, "is the key. It sends excess water to the city drain. Close it when the pumps are running, and we're talking Noah's Ark-level flooding." Foreshadowing, I didn't know I was dropping. Linda tried to halt us once, brandishing a 1980s noise ordinance that banned excessive humming before 8 a.m. Tim, unfazed, glanced at his watch. "Ma'am, it's 9:45, and I haven't hummed since my kids' recorder recital." Linda stormed off, her tablet practically sparking with rage. That's when I think she decided to stop watching and start sabotaging. Here's the weird part, Tanya. It's weird. I own a submersible. Not a Navy sub, just a one-person research pod, about the size of a hot tub with a bubble top. I snagged it cheap from a marine lab in Rhode Island, who warned it was mildly cursed by grumpy krill. I named it the Lucky Krill and kept it in my oversized garage, tinkering on weekends, dreaming of exploring Lake Champlain's depths. It was my escape from the daily grind, my someday project. I'd never taken it deeper than a kiddie pool I borrowed from my cousin to test. Its tank's underwhelming, but hopeful. Nobody knew about it. Not Jake, not Tim, definitely not Linda. "One day, Krill," I'd whisper, polishing its dome, "will conquer the deep." I didn't expect its first dive to be in my backyard. It's a sunny Saturday, the kind that tricks you into thinking nothing can go wrong. Jake and Tim are off, probably sipping beer somewhere. I'm knee-deep in my waders, tweaking the sanctuary's pumps. The reservoir's full, the waterfalls are purring, and the bog filters looking swamp chic. "Almost done, Percival," I say to the stone turtle fountain I'd nestled among the cattails. He stares back, forever chill. Just a few pump tweaks, and I'd unleash my masterpiece. Linda's lurking by the fence, half hidden by my non-compliant native grasses, scribbling on her tablet. I wave cheerily, playing dumb. She glares back, her eyes glinting with something darker than her usual disdain. Too late. I realize it's the look of someone about to ruin your life. I'm hunched over a pump valve when I hear Ida rhythmic creak, like a rusty hinge or a valve being cranked by vengeful hands. "What the?" I mutter, standing up. I glance at the spillway, hidden by a cluster of pines I'd planted to block Linda's VYEW. There she is, Linda, at the big red valve, the one I'd warned was the do not touch ever valve. She's turning it shut. Ice floods my veins. "Linda," I yell, my voice breaking. "Stop. What are you doing?" She doesn't flinch, her voice dripping with smug authority. "This unpermitted water hazard VY OLATS Bylaw 6, Section F, on drainage alterations." I'm neutralizing the threat. Neutralizing? I shout, splashing out of the pond. "You're going to drown the neighborhood. That's the main valve, you maniac." It's like a bad cartoon. With the valve sealed and the pumps still churning thousands of gallons, the water has nowhere to go. The pond now a small lake swells VY Sibley. I sprint to the pump controls, slamming the kill switch. The main pump's grown to a stop, but forgotten solar pump in the bog keeps chugging, or maybe it's just the system's pressure with no outlet. Water creeps toward my garage, lapping at the open door. My tools, my projects, my sub-oh-no, the Lucky Krill. Water's pouring in now, swirling around my workbench, grabbing lumber like a greedy tide. The krill sits on blocks, its yellow hull mockingly bright. The water's at my knees. I can't reach the valve. Linda's guarding it like a dragon. My phone's in my pocket, probably drowned. I stare at the sub, the water now thigh-high. A crazy, stupid idea sparks. "Well, Krill," I say, smacking its side, "your big debut's going to be a wild one." I scramble to the hatch, stiff from months of neglect. Panic fuels my strength. The water's chest deep, my drill bits probably swimming laps. The hatch groans open, water cascading in. I dive inside, slam it shut, and spin the lock as the murky flood swallows the VYU port. Just like that, my Saturday flips from yard work to a submarine thriller, courtesy of Linda's Vendetta. Inside, the silence is suffocating, broken only by my ragged breaths and the hull's eerie creaks. The VYU port shows a brown haze, with a wrench or a paint can drifting by like ghosts. My heart's a rock concert. "Breathe, Ethan," I pant, wiping fog from the glass. This thing's built for water. Not this water, but water. The lights flicker on, casting a sickly glow. The krill smells like fear, energy drinks, and that krill curse. I check the hatch seals dry for now. The radio spits static. My phone's a brick. The water's still rising outside, the hull groaning under pressure. I'm about to get out before Linda turns my yard into the Atlantic. Ballast controls, I tested them once in that kiddie pool. The levers are clunky, the gauge screaming panic. Easy, krill. I coax like it's a skittish dog. Blow the tank slow. No popping up like a jack-in-the-box. I pull the lever. Air hisses, the sub lurches, and we're rising agonizingly slow. The VYU port shifts from garage junk to. Are those my prize ferns? Then murky green. I'm in the pond, now a cloudy lake thanks to Linda. Is that Percival, my turtle fountain, sunken like a lost city? Sorry, man, I mutter. Blame the tablet tyrant. Light shimmers above. The surface. Hope. The lucky krill breaches with a soft whoosh, bobbing like a giant bath toy in my new disaster zone. I'm 20 feet from my deck, now a pier. My award-winning lilacs are underwater, probably cursing me. I wrestle the hatch open, gulping fresh air. Linda's there at the edge of Lake Carter, tablet in hand, mouth agape, sun hat askew. For once, she's speechless a sight almost worth the chaos. Sirens wail, closing in. A backyard lake with a submersible tends to draw a crowd. 2 cop cars skid into my driveway, lights flashing. Neighbors gawk over fences, phones out, probably streaming my saga. Officers Daniels and Lopez approach. Daniels with a rookie's wide eyes, Lopez with a weary squint of someone who's seen it all, but not this. Daniels grabs a megaphone, despite me being right there. Sir in the yellow. Thing, you okay? I wave weakly. Just peachy, officer. Thinking of opening a yacht club. Lopez mutters. Did he say sub or tub? Then shouts, Sir, care to explain what that is? I lean out. Long story, officers. Involve a rogue HOA queen, a valve that should have stayed open, and my bad luck. Not my fault this time, I swear. Linda snaps out her trance, her voice a banshee wail. He's a menace. This lagoon's unpermitted, a violation of Section 10, unauthorized water features. That thing probably breaks maritime law. I sigh. It's a sub, Linda, not a cruise ship. And you caused this by locking the valve. The cops glance between us, clearly wondering if they're in a sitcom. Fire trucks roll up, sirens blaring. A firefighter yells, dispatch said guy in a boat, not a sub in his tulips. They launch a rescue raft to fetch me from the krill, now tilted in what used to be my lawn. It's overkill and mortifying. On my soggy deck, Daniels and Lopez grill me. Linda hovers, tossing in bylaws like grenades. So, Mr. Carter, Lopez starts, pen ready. You're saying Ms. Hawthorne shut a critical valve, causing this flood? Maliciously, I snap, pointing at Linda. She said she was neutralizing a threat. Ask her. Linda bristles. I was upholding standards. His water pits a mosquito factory, probably spawning piranhas. Daniels, barely holding it together, says, Ma'am, we're in Vermont. Piranhas aren't a thing. This looks like a fish tank on steroids. Jake and Tim pull up, jaws dropping at the lake, the krill, the emergency circus, and me, looking like a wet dog arguing with cops. Jake whistles. Ethan, you said epic. Didn't know you meant Titanic epic. Tim points at the krill. That the sub you mentioned? The krill-haunted one. I nod. In the fiberglass, boys. And Linda's the witch who sank us. They back my story, telling Lopez about the valve's importance and Linda's meddling. Jake grins. He said closing it would make the fish need snorkels. Guess who the fish, Ethan? The yard's a wreck-me sanctuary's a muddy crater. My garage a swamp. My lilacs toast. Mrs. Larson next door eyes her drowning daisies nervously. Daniels tags along as I survey the carnage, muttering, gonna be a wild insurance claim. Got a box for HOA sabotage. Linda's still ranting to Lopez, while VYing her soggy rulebook. Article 8. No altering the water table. It's oceanic out there. Lopez, calm as a monk, says, Ma'am, this is a flood, not a remodel. And you're facing questions about reckless endangerment. Linda falters, her smugness cracking. The day blurs statements, calls to my stunned insurer, a sub in your yard, and the realization I'm now Submersible guy. A news van shows up, drawn by reports of a capsized vessel. I give a dazed interview, the krill gleaming behind me. So, Mr. Carter, the reporter chirps, you fled an HOA feud in a submarine? I try for charm. When life hands you a flood, grab a sub and ride it out. But seriously, don't touch a man's valve. Jake and Tim, now local legends, work to drain the lake, a days-long slog requiring pumps and miracles. I'm furious at Linda, exhausted but weirdly proud. I serve VY-VED, and the krill worked in the dumbest way possible. Pumping out the lake takes a week, the krill's craned out, now a driveway relic under a tarp. Kids leave sketches of it fighting sea monsters that look like Linda. One has laser beams. I keep that one. Insurers balk. There's no code for submarine flood. I suggest Linda disasters. They don't laugh. Linda vanishes. Rumor says to her cousins in Montpelier. Maybe lawyering up or hiding from her new infamy. Officer Lopez stops by post drainage, sipping my awful coffee. DA's looking at Hawthorne, he says. Your sub-stunt surfaced, other complaints hedge height, paint shades, the wind chime purge of 20. She's in hot water. Charges pile up. Mischief, endangerment, public nuisance. The city eyes the HOA's overreach, and Linda's reign crumbles. An HOA meeting turns into a revolt. I wasn't going enough drama, but Tim calls. It's a riot, Ethan. Like a pitchfork mob, but about lawn gnomes. I go. Linda's there, deflated but defiant, citing bylaws. Mrs. Larson snaps. You nearly drowned Ethan and my daisies. Neighbors unload. Crooked fences, tacky chalk art. It's not about me, Anna Marie, it's a community breaking free. Linda's fined, sentenced to park cleanup, and ousted from the HOA. Montpelier keeps her. My yard's healing. Jake and Tim build a smaller, legal pond. The krill's got offers from oddball museums and a crypto bro who collects escape pods. I'm mulling it. Neighbors bring casseroles, sorry for my lake. Percival's back, ruling his tiny pond. At the hardware store, a cashier spots my name. Submersible guy? He grins. I sign a receipt. Legend of the cul-de-sac. I miss the chaos, just a bit. The new valves lock tight with a sign, Linda, hands off. The krill's eyeing Lake Champlain. Every krill deserves a real adventure. So what do you think? Was Linda a VY lane, or was just a stickler pushed too far? Should I have fought harder or moved to avoid her wrath? Would you keep the krill or sell it for a quieter life? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more wild tales.